Hello, Methuselahs, and welcome to Lies from the Tabletop, a Vitez podcast. I am your host, MikeyNoFonts of the Brujar clan. Today, we are bringing you a podcast discussing all about our adventures in the game of Vampire: The Eternal Struggle. And I am joined by the one and only Captain Thalco. Captain Thalco,
Howdy.
aka PJ, aka the Prince of Liverpool. We've been wanting to do this for ages, mate. It's so
Yeah.
good to finally get it started, man. Absolutely
Yeah,
buzzing
long
to be
time
able to
coming.
do this. It is. So let's just introduce ourselves to the listeners then.
Yeah.
PJ, you've obviously been playing a lot longer than me, so tell us about yourself and your history of the game.
Well, I started playing I don't even know if you know this really, but I played like way back when, like
Back in the day.
2000. Well, way back when for some other people watching might be a lot further, like not jihad days, but sort of like 2003, 2005, like that. With a group of friends who made up some of their own rules a lot. So when I started playing again, there was a lot of
So
methods.
So it was essentially Yu-Gi-Oh! There were people like attacking the moon.
Okay, that's fine, but like, I feel like the guy who introduced us to the game liked to play it a certain way, so we played with like 10 of us in one table, that sort of
Oh
thing.
wow!
So it got messy, and because he liked big games, he told us that like 90 cards was the minimum deck size, and most tournament decks were 150.
And
So
did you have to role play as well? So did you all like put bin bags over your back and pretend to be vampires?
no, just the fangs are enough. It was
Okay,
very
yeah,
difficult
yeah,
to do the thing with the fangs.
Bleach you for 6, guys.
Yeah, so when I found my own collection, um, between then I'd done some like serious magic and like going to GPs and stuff. So like actual tournament level play, understanding of the game and stuff. And then coming back to my old Fetez collection from when I was like 18 or whatever, it's just like what is this? It's a 150 card deck with just every card I owned in it, basically. It's like this is a mess. But you need, like, I guess to survive a 10-player game, you needed that sort of thing.
I can't even imagine playing a 10-player game.
It was the day. It was like a whole day of gaming.
Yeah. Oh gosh, can you imagine like booking off a whole day and like you just get ousted within the first 20 minutes by like a weenie aggro deck, and you just sat there like,
I don't know why we did. I guess because all our decks were just clogged with nonsense. We were probably not doing very well. But
yes.
I had like I don't know if you remember the Yaroslav Paskek deck. I had that. So you just gave them a bang neck and just slap people around for 5. But I everyone was like scared of it because it actually done something. But then did also find it made like a Malk Stealth lead deck. I don't think I ever got to play. I think they probably told me I wasn't allowed or something. It's just like all of it was just lead and stealth. Like,
Yeah,
dangerous.
they've got their own ban list
Yeah,
up in there.
like that level
Yeah,
kitchen table, like just yeah.
yeah.
That card
Those were the days, but it's got a bit more serious these days. Bit of a big name in the
yeah.
community now, playing properly by the actual rules
Oh,
as well. Yeah,
that's debatable. We'll see.
yeah. And you've had some
What kind of
success
things come
recently
on
as
this?
well, mate.
Yeah, yeah. Well, last weekend, your first final. My
It
second.
was, and you bled me out straight away. Thanks for that. By the way, I wasn't going to mention it. You
You're just an easy
bastard.
predator, right? So an easy prey.
Yeah,
So where am I going to sit? Oh, I'll kill that guy.
yeah,
Easy.
yeah. Kill the guy in his first final who we've been playing together for 4 years. Yeah, welcome to the real world.
Yeah, man. Um, so like wetting the head of the baby, that kind of thing, you know. Bit of a
Yeah.
hate.
Yeah, so just for the listeners at home, we played together at GP Liverpool recently. We both made it to the
No,
final table.
it was just the Valentine's Day massacre.
Oh yeah, sorry,
The GP was in May.
the Valentine's Day massacre that we are
Yeah,
looking
we played
forward
that with GP when
to, to the GP. But yeah, it was my first tournament final, and my best mate who said, "You know what, Mikey, I'll take you out first." Yeah, thank you so much, mate.
a man once said to me on a train, and I think this reigns true with that final for you. If
Yeah,
you're if you're gonna get bummed up the arse, you want it to be by your best mate, don't you?
That's a fair point. Yeah, if it's gonna be anyone, PJ, it has to be you, doesn't it? Yeah,
You want to get fucked by someone you trust. And
it's
that's
true.
what that's
It's true. Yeah, it's true. And so you've had some success in that tournament. Obviously, bringing home the bacon. You've been a constant table topper. In various Leeds tournaments that we've been to. You do have a national championship under your belt.
No. I've been on the finals,
Nearly. You've
but
been in the final, so you've always been the bridesmaid,
yeah.
but never the bride. Yeah.
I've only both my tournament wins are with decks when I've turned up to the event thinking I don't know what to play, so I'll take this deck that's a loose idea, and then by the end of the event I'll know what I need to change, and then both of them times have won. So when I go with something I trust and think is good,
Yeah, that's good.
I've not got there. So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna pick for the GP. I'm just gonna take 90 cards without looking, shuffle them together, 12 round the flip, and it should go great. That's my plan.
Just go with the old classic kitchen table setup from 12 years ago.
Take me 150 card deck. No.
Yeah. Just whack it on the table. And so, aside from playing, then you've also got some other roles in the community of Vites as well. Tell us about some of them, mate.
Well, I'm the UK national coordinator now. That kind of came through in an odd way. Like so when I picked the game back up, must be like 4 or 5 years ago now. It was before it had gone back into print. I'd moved away, hadn't I, for a bit, and I come back to Liverpool. Got a group of friends and just said, "Look, I used to love this game. Do you want to play it again?" And they were all like, "Oh, we don't want to buy into another game." And I'm like, "It's not in print. Just print your own cards, like sound." So everyone printed.
Also, it's so cheap as well.
Yeah, like now it's back in print. It's still dirty.
So I'm used to playing like modern in Magic at that point in time, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't fork out another $2,000 for a deck." And I was like, when you said you can make a deck for literally 30p.
Well, you just went and bought a tournament winning deck in a box for 20.
Well, yeah, it was a Stanislava 25th edition.
What was it like? It was like 18 quid. Mark was selling them for.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Sweet,
incredible. Just like great,
cool,
immediately competitive, immediately able to bring something to the table. So yeah.
Yeah, Mike's only deck is Stanislava, by the way.
Yeah, it is my only deck, and so whilst we've been waxing lyrical about PJ's achievements in the game, which are tournament wins, being the national coordinator, also an events organizer, also is in charge of and helps run various Vites groups on social media, and also is a very active member of the community in the Vites meme group, Flames of the Netherworld. Which is gonna get a big shout out at the end of the podcast.
I think there's probably not enough people to know about it, to be fair.
Yeah. Not yet. But for me, I've been playing Vites about 4 years, and I still only play one deck. It's all I know. I play Stanislava, Vote and Bleed, but at the same time, I'd say I'm pretty good with it nowadays.
Yeah.
And I've really honed it as well to be like a bit of a streamlined engine, really something to be feared whenever it comes to a table, but still no success just yet. And I think that's what makes us a good pairing. I think that's what makes us a good pairing on the podcast. So obviously PJ brings the history, he brings a lot of expertise, and I bring a lot of the curiosity and a lot of that those new eyes to certain cards and certain ideas, which allow us to explore the game in hopefully what will be a fun and also informative way. So speaking of informative, PJ, I think what we're going to do now is we're going to go through your tournament winning deck from the Valentine's Day Massacre. So it's the Web of Fists. There's Evan Rogers looking badass.
He came out like every game, What a dude.
Yeah.
Just
frightening. Yeah, so tell me a little bit about this deck then before we start. What
Yeah.
does the deck try and do? What are its strengths? Also, what don't you want to see at the table as well? What are your weaknesses?
Well, your weaknesses are the easiest because the defense is pretty low, so you don't want stealth being on your ass, which I didn't really have to deal with at the event, which is great. There was 2 stealth decks there, and the time that I did have one as a predator, it got brainwashed out of the game, which I'm sure you remember, Mike.
That was awful. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
No,
for people listen, yeah,
brilliant
for
point.
you it wasn't, yeah, but for people listening at home, I went up against Tommy. Tommy plays a brainwashing deck, and I literally didn't bring out a vampire the whole game. No one rescued my guys, and
No, you
PJ.
did. Just before you got deaded, you
Oh,
brought.
oh yeah, I brought out one guy, and the turn after dead, and you were able to play this Web of Fish deck in that game with absolutely no pressure.
Yeah, well, Tommy staggered, didn't he? Because you were brainwashed, he was eagle sighting my guy. But I don't, because I had Alu out first, who's the 2 cap with obfuscate. So he blocked them, thinking I had no combat disciplines, and then I target vitals with pull fangs on him, which neighbor John did not appreciate, and
Oh, oh,
that really
pain,
happened.
pain.
So after that, he was like, he couldn't block because he'd go to torp or he couldn't hunt.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and
yeah,
so what are the strengths of the deck then? When you're going for when you're at your best, what's it like?
um, really funny.
Yeah.
Once you got the setup, which we'll discuss a bit more
Yeah,
later,
of course.
it's just a lot of pressure. But at its core, the deck is a bruise bleed deck.
Yeah.
You make a lot of guys, so everyone seems to think you're on a breeding boon strategy, but which you could potentially pivot to because there's actually a guy in the right grouping who you can burn a blood. I think it's 2 blood to give each Asimite a vote. So you could use him
Oh,
and pivot in a more defensive angle and add some content when you spoons and that sort of thing.
yeah, yeah.
So there's a lot of options that the deck could go with, but this is the way I've took it.
Okay,
Make some
great.
webinars, bleed, win. That's the plan.
Bleed and win.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Bleed, win. Good strategy.
yeah, and the thing that I notice about the strength of this deck is its versatility and its ability to be so reactive to what it sees and the current situation that's at the table. But I'm sure we'll get more into that. So let's go through a deck profile and see what are the contents of this deck. So first of all, the crypt. PJ, tell us a little bit about this. I've put here Vardarian because he reminds me of. Do you know who Gary Neville and Phil Neville are?
Yeah.
Yes. Do you know what their dad's name is?
Neville.
Neville Neville. So
Yeah.
you got Vardar
I
Vardar.
know the sauce. I know me onions. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
he's great, right? Vada.
And he's hench as well.
He'd be great for football chants. Vada. Vada, something like that,
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
these are the Assamites. Who are the star players in here?
the 2 obs, the big boys, the 2
Mm.
capacity Alu, and 1 capacity Basia.
Hmm.
When you're on 3 transfers and get both out turn 1, it's such a good
Oh,
feeling. I think it was game 2 that happened, and I was just like, okay,
yeah,
sweet. Get them
it's
both
very
out,
nice.
you ready to roll. They're basically all the lowest cap Assamites available, with the exception of Kabedi Maru,
Hmm.
who is sort of a leftover from my first vision of the deck.
Draft. Yeah.
The first time I built the deck, it was less of a swarm deck and more of a rush deck.
Yeah.
And I ran a lot of higher caps that had basic potence. So there's a guy who he can strike aggravated hand damage. And there's a dude Kabedia kept in because he gets +1 incept against political actions.
I noticed.
So it seems good. Just those decks are like, say, Ventrue decks or something like that
Mm.
don't typically run stealth. It allows you a lot of leeway to just block things like political stranglehold or even just chaos reckless agitations, especially from like a bourgeois player. You've got to a lot of problems can be caused at one stealth. So having
Yeah,
that
totally.
into the deck, it seemed good. He didn't actually come up at any point during the event, but like I say, the deck was a rough concept when I went in, and I came out of it with like, yeah, small weenie spawn, please.
Yeah,
So he's gone, and I'm replacing him. Well, we'll get to that bit later.
yeah. And I think what you're saying about the crypt, so just to bring us on towards the master phase, is that if you are on 3 transfers, you can get out, 2 guys straight away, and then turn 2, Hackham's Law Retribution. You can be bleeding. You can be bleeding for 6 on turn 2,
Yeah. Well, I think it
straight
did
out
at
the
one point
blocks.
do that. Like
Yeah.
bled for 5, I think, turn 2, because I had the I can't remember what it's called now, the action that gives them +1 bleed, which I think is on the next line.
Hmm.
So that's quite good. But ideally, you want to drop 2 Web Knives that turn, and then you get that clock spinning because it's 3 turns before the Web Knives come in. If you can get 2 down turn 1,
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
you're off. You're gonna
Yeah.
have 4 guys in 3 turns plus
It's
whatever
going to
you're trying
be
to get out.
absolutely awful, isn't it? I think I just want to talk real quick about this first Mastercard, this
Yeah,
Hackham's Law Retribution. So the first time I ever saw it, as a relatively new player, was when I was staring it down and you were bleeding into me. I had to read it about 4 times. I can't believe that it was legal because sometimes in Vites, someone plays a card and you go, surely not. Like, surely it's been errated or something, or they've changed something
yeah,
that the card does, or they've added a cost or something like that, so you can't just play the original card straight away. And so I looked at this card thinking, nah, there's no way that that's free. There's no way it
yeah.
lets you cycle cards like that. There's no way it lets you just increase all your bleed like that. But no, that's a real card.
Yeah. The biggest thing that the biggest reaction you get from it is, wait, it's not unique. And you're like,
It's
nope.
not you. It's
And
not
then wait on that
unique.
second one
It's
to just
not
like
unique.
yeah, it's quite a
Because that was the second thing that happened. Was you played the second one, and I went, wait.
well, it's the word that people tend to just assume on cards a lot. Like
Hmm.
the amount of times you'll hear of a card and everyone's surprised it's not unique is
Oh yeah.
it happens regularly. I've done it myself quite a lot with Carthage Remembered, which is the one that gives +1 stealth on bleed actions to Brujar, Princes, and Justicars. And
Hmm.
it's like, hang on a minute. And
Yeah.
I'm playing Rocky and someone plays through and I went, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, well, I'm ordering as many as I can.
Yeah. Yeah. Precisely. So yeah, we'll get onto that card a bit more later because I do want to talk a bit more about that. But we'll move on to actions, and I think that this card here, Weaponized Recruit,
Yeah,
is one of the main
that's,
players
that's the
in the
Star
game.
Vampire in the deck.
Yeah, the Star Vampire is an
Yeah,
action card,
man. He's
which is
insane. And
great.
like, you'll notice that I leaned into the potence a lot because that's what attracted me to it the most.
Yeah,
Like, I ran a lot more of the quietest combat stuff. There was like originally in the build, but a lot of it's just too slow and to get
yeah,
going. Like there's a card called Scorpion's Touch, I believe. It's like a strike. Um, it counts as a hand strike weirdly, but it doesn't do damage. You just stick the card on the guy, and it gives them -1 strength. But the problem is,
yeah.
it doesn't happen until like they don't get affected immediately because strikes are simultaneous. So you'll still take their damage before you give them the minus strength, which didn't
Oh,
synchronize with the psalm the way I wanted.
yeah.
Um, we'll get to
So
that bit in a minute.
is that kind of more useful then if you're doing like multi rounds of combat? Then
Yeah, yeah. Like
yeah,
originally I had cards like Trap, which just provides multiple
it's a
threats.
trap.
It's a trap. You land the trap and you go, okay, we're in this for the long haul. There's going to be at least 3 rounds. I'm going to Scorpions touch you. You're at -1 strength. Let's go. And then you whittle them down.
Yeah,
Um,
brilliant.
but there's still it's still important, like because a lot of unless they're playing potence, when you immortal grapple them, odds are they're going to hit you for 1. And that's the kind of premise the deck's built around.
Yeah.
Uh, so I'll go more into that on the combat
Yeah.
side.
So you've got little guys making more little guys who are bleeding you for up to 3.
Yeah.
It's
Well, up to 5.
absolutely
4 copies
disgusting.
if you really go the nuts.
Yeah, yeah.
I think at
It's
one
absolutely
point in the day
disgusting.
I got 3 hacking balls or whatever. So you just it gets silly.
Yeah. Oh, I saw it. I was on the receiving end of it. So yeah, it was totally nuts. And I didn't draw any Zilla's Valleys or anything like that. So I had a particularly slow start and you had a really aggressive start, which is just a really poor combo. I think if I was sitting to the right of you, I think that would have been much better for me. But the fact that you were
Oh yeah.
going into me, like I couldn't block anything that you're doing because you just beat me up.
Mm.
But yeah, we'll get on to that in a moment. So we've got some action modifiers here: 2 Blood Awakening, 2 Resist Earth Grasp, 2 Swallow by Night.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about these cards then.
Well, the key thing is, with the exception of Blood Awakening, they are also combat cards.
Hmm.
So they're live with the Games Law, which is incredible. The
Yeah.
Blood Awakening was in there just for a bit of extra intercept, because as I say, there's a lot of +1 stealth actions that are problematic. Catching the odd bleed, it
Hmm.
does make a difference on intercept usually. There was a
Yeah.
point where I nearly, after putting the Potence Master on a 4-cap Asimite, I nearly done a block fails, but
Yeah.
unfortunately the person managed to transfer out a 6-cap the turn just before.
Ah,
I was like, no,
almost got
eating
that
6-cap.
superior.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I think that's part of what I do like about this card is that it is versatile, but with Hackham's Law, you just get to discard stuff that doesn't really fit anyway.
mm,
And so the fact that you can like every single card in your hand becomes +1 bleed,
yeah.
essentially, because
No,
you'll
no,
run
no.
well when we get to it, we'll see that you are running a metric ton of combat cards, possibly the most combat cards that I've ever seen in any deck
I think
ever.
it's
And
51,
yeah.
including the action modifiers.
Yeah, exactly. And as someone who plays Vote and Bleed, Stanislava, trying to stealth, I just hate getting into combat. And
Yeah, and 53 form of it. There's too many, isn't
yeah, I know.
it?
Yeah, form a mist when you can't strike combat ends is not great. Anyway, so we've got these cards as well, and just for me as a new player as well. When I look at both of these cards, when I look at Black Sunrise, when I look at on the QEV, which you run both, they both seem really similar. So just educate me here. So are there subtle differences? Why run one over the other? Why not run 6 Black Sunrise, or why not run 6 on the QEV?
Well, the only key downside is well known, right? You can only play one during each round,
Yeah,
which is why you think Black Sunrise is the better call. Uh, but Black Sunrise has its limitations. So a basic, you can only use it during the action, which means you can't use it. Say if I had Kabeddy Mario, I couldn't use it to unlock and block a political action, a basic. Well, sorry, he has advanced, but so on advanced you can do on any. But even though it says usable on any action, um, it's not it's not quite true because it says this vampire unlocks and attempts to block. So if you can't block that action, you can't do it. So Black Sunrise unlocks you, and you can just play the reactions for the sake of it. So you could, for example, if someone's acting with Perfectionist on, you can just play the on the key Vive to um, deny them the blood from Perfectionist, or you can just play it to get it out of your hand because you want another
that
combat
is
card.
tech. Yeah, that's tech.
So like there was a point with Black Sunrise where I just played it on like a +3 stealth action just to get it out of my hand. And they're
Yeah,
like, "Oh, did you not draw the intercept?" And I'm like, "What intercept?" Just
yeah, yeah,
no. I just want to get the oust, so I need to get combat cards. So I'm just like, unlock this guy.
yeah.
Carry on.
Nice. That's nice. And that's also a little subtle difference is that on the QEV wakes, whereas
Mhm.
Black Sunrise
Yeah.
unlocks
So on the
unlocks
key
the
view,
vampire.
something against, say, a form of mist, where you can then attempt to block a second time because you're still awake for the action. Whereas
Yeah,
Black Sunrise, you can block, and then get locked again, and
yeah,
you're done.
yeah, precisely. So yeah, there you go. Um, I always shudder when I see this card, Immortal Grapple. I mean, I've made no secret on
Yeah,
the Flames in the Netherworld
yeah.
Vita's meme group that I hate this card. I think it's great, and I think it's like a necessary evil within the game. But at the same time, when your deck is really bad at dealing with it, it's one of those that you just have to just like accept death when you see it. So yeah,
Yeah,
tell
does
us
it
a
go
little bit
on?
about your combat package and how this works in the deck as well.
Okay, so yeah, the premise of the combat package was do 2 damage, send them to torpor. That's it.
Yeah, yeah,
Just make sure they do less damage than you do damage. Send them to torpor. And once you got the first disarm going, if they come back, it's just easier because disarm gives the minus strength.
yeah,
So you grapple them, you go hands for one, they go hands for none, you go disarm. See ya.
yeah.
And you can just keep going.
Bye.
Um, and that's where the full fangs also comes in because then it's like even if you get out of torpor, you got to hunt, go back to torpor, hunt, go back to torpor.
Just
So
nasty.
it the combat package is designed to synergize with each other in so many different ways that I don't, because I think a big problem with a lot of combat decks is you want a certain amount of cards. So you go, okay, I'll bums rush you, taunt signpost, maneuver to get back to close, and roundhouse or whatever, so maybe increase strength or whatever. So I'm going to do
Yeah,
like 10 damage, but I'm going to have this card, this card, this card, and this card. Or if you're sitting
yeah.
there with 4 taunt signposts, you're just doing 3. You're not doing anything else.
Mm,
So
mm,
this deck is all the cards either like flash, where they'll get you back to close or and press, or they will just help you do more damage than they do. So Damn the Heart's River increases all your damage by 1 that you
yeah.
do to them during the combat, and it's the whole combat, but not the round, which a lot of people were like, "Oh, hang on a minute."
It's
Um,
so horrible. Yeah.
and then advance, you have to burn a blood to strike if you're the opposing vampire. So sometimes you can just hope that they say, "Oh, I won't bother striking," and then it cool disarm. Uh, so Damn the Heart's River increases the damage. Um, Quickness gives you an additional strike. So even if you just hands for 1 each, you can then do an additional.
Yeah.
Disease increases their strength by 2, or 1 at basic. So again, you can just hands for 1 and get the job done. Um, and Target Vitals obviously can combo with any card really.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
take
Amazing.
examples for those pesky sniper rifles when they try and set your range and you just go off the top you go, buddy. Take 2
Yeah.
extra damage.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. It's
there's
a
no
really,
plan
really
to get to
nasty.
range. It's just a counter attack. And if
Yeah.
it's not live, you just throw it away for a +1 bleed.
Yeah. It's a really, really nasty combination of cards. And there might be some people who look at this deck and think, what, 48 combat cards? Is that not a bit much? But as we said before, with the Hackham's Law Retribution, every single one of these cards is always live.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
always live. And the thing that I really love about this deck as well is how, there are Vitas is so different to other games in that like you draw up and replace the cards that you do. So usually your hand isn't that much of a problem, but
Yeah, yeah,
sometimes it can be. But with this deck, you are able to filter your hand so well and like draw into the cards that you like exactly need, because you go, well, I don't need this, discard it for a bleed, discard this for a bleed, discard this for a
yeah.
bleed, and you can just keep coming in like with perfect precision every single time.
Yeah,
And
it
that,
gets towards a
yeah,
problem that a lot of Bruise Bleed decks have, because generally when you're playing Bruise Bleed, you're going to be playing something like Brujar or Brujar Tribute, where you're running like Show of Force or something. You just want to go, I'll bleed you for 3 using this action card, and if you block, I'm going to hit you hard.
yeah,
Whereas those decks falter when
hmm,
people go no blocks, and you go, okay, now I'm just sitting
yeah,
here with a bunch of combat cards, and I've got no bleed modifiers, so I'm bleeding for 1, and no one's blocking a 10 cap bleeding for 1. Whereas
yeah,
this deck goes, okay, you're not going to block, sure, take 5.
yeah.
So like your cards are always doing something is the idea.
Yeah, yeah, they are. And so I've just highlighted some of the cards from this deck that like I really, really like. And so I'm gonna start with obviously Pulled Fangs. I'd never seen this card before until it happened to me, and that
I
was
don't think
horrible.
anyone in the room
Yeah,
had.
I why is this card not seeing like loads of play?
I don't know. I don't know. I think it's I think it's great. I was running in this, and the reason there's less in this, I couldn't find my others. They were in a Renegade Guru
Yeah,
deck because allies can play it as well. So you just enter combat and go boom,
yeah.
full fangs at the end. So you got an ally who like hits for 2 damage, and they want to block you and do 1. You go okay, have some.
Ow. Yeah. And I think part of the problem is like I know for me, as like someone who's a very relatively inexperienced player, will look at a card and just go, ah, it's too much text. so, 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 start reading
Yeah,
that.
I think with it being a red card with no discipline as well, it's so much easier to dismiss because there's a
Yeah.
lot of red cards with no disciplines with a lot of text that
I can't
aren't
believe there's not
included.
even like a requirement like for
Yeah.
discipline to play it as well.
The requirements do more damage, but
Well,
yeah.
that's no problem in your deck with 50 combat cards, is it?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of lucky that like because if you go against another potent deck, it becomes a bit more problematic.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
if they're like, I'm going to make my strength 3, you're like, right, I
yeah,
need to reduce that now, and you kind of need the combo at that point.
yeah,
So I think like the weakness to the deck on the left is another combat
yeah,
deck. You
yeah,
can generally handle them with just volume though,
yeah,
because you'll whittle them
yeah,
down eventually.
yeah. Because you can go through more combat cards than they can
Yeah.
in a deck like this. So just for the listeners at home, because I know that I didn't hear about pulled fangs um until very recently, unfortunately. Um, just tell us what to do, what's its effect, how does it work?
Right. So I can't remember if it's limited to close. I've got a copy here because there's an
Hmm.
interesting thing about it. There's a print from this edition,
Hmm.
which I'm not sure is that Camarilla edition,
Yeah,
Sebastian.
it's one of those
Um,
errated cards, isn't
I'm
it?
terrible with it. But no, like, I don't think the earlier versions had it, but this one, um, I'll tell you the difference in a second. So at the end of a round of combat, if you've done more damage to the opposing minion than they've done to you, you can play Pulled Fangs. When you play Pulled Fangs, it goes on them. They take a point of damage. Uh, it takes 2+1 stealth actions to get rid of it. Any vampire can take them, but generally people don't.
Yeah.
Once they're gone, you can hunt okay. If Pulled Fangs is on you and you have to hunt, you go to torpor. Just you go to torpor to hunt. That's that.
It's
Um,
absolutely horrible.
it doesn't get removed when you go to torpor. If you get rescued and then hunt again, you go straight back to torpor. Um, so I haven't had the chance yet to rescue a guy with like if they have a guy with 2 blood and you just go rescue you, and then go back in.
So,
Rescue your pain.
like
That
with fame or something like that, and
yeah,
so
yeah,
they keep going in and out of the
yeah,
top. That'd
yeah.
be horrible. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Obviously a really good card, and so definitely going to
yeah,
watch this space for a bit more
more
of that.
content should be running it.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I might order some more in case we bring enough attention to it that the price skyrockets. So,
Yeah.
but the other
Get
cool thing
get
is,
them stonks.
yeah, yeah, invest now. Down the Hearts River is talking about
Yeah,
you
yeah.
do damage,
Hmm.
1 extra damage, which includes the pull fangs. So you'll do 2 damage at the end of the combat instead of 1 if you play down the Hearts River. But
Sickening.
the weird thing on this version
Yeah.
is it says do 1 aggravated damage,
I
which is
can't believe they used to give this card aggravated damage as well.
I don't know if that was just a misprint or if it had it in Jihad or what, but
Yeah.
like if there were earlier prints of this card that done and it
Yeah.
genuinely done it, I can see why it changed quick.
Yeah. As if the card wasn't disgusting enough
Yeah.
already. It's
Well, you
like
need the guy with +1 strength. You're gonna block me? All right. Take some ag.
bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Renegade Guru enters
Yeah.
combat with you. Dead.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we've already touched a lot on Hackham's Law retribution. So I'm just gonna finish this
Yeah,
slide
fine.
then with Kabar Glory.
Right.
So one of the thing that I want to say about this card is that it doesn't see loads of play, but it does see a little bit of play. But the thing that really struck me about the card when we were at the Valentine's Day Massacre, you were at the final table, and you played it. And what that meant was it changed the mentality of every other Methuselah around you because they all immediately perked up as soon as you played that. So it changed the dynamic of the table. So just for the listeners at home, Kabar Glory means that instead of gaining 6 pool when you get announced, you gain 10. And so what happened then was everyone started to block everything that you did during that turn,
Yeah,
which when you're a combat deck is exactly what you want. Like it turns every single card that you play. Oh, also this is like a priority contract
yeah,
as
exactly.
well. Yeah,
What we said earlier, whatever happens, you're playing them red cards.
yeah,
They're, they're just going.
yeah. And if you
And
get it
a bit
off
of
as well,
a
by the way, it's just a bonus. But the fact that everyone was like so intent on going, he's going for the oust, he's going for the oust. You
yeah.
know,
Well, the funny thing is, like the full thing of it, it's a +1 stealth action.
yeah,
Um, it does exactly what you said, but it also gives you +1 bleed and unlocks the vampire after you do the action. So like, it's really funny because when I play it, everyone's like, "Oh, he's sending a signal here. He thinks he's
yeah,
getting a boost." And what
yeah,
I'm actually saying is, I'll play this because it's in my hand.
yeah,
Like, I think in 2 games I played at turn 1 because it's +1 bleed. I'm not going to sit on it for the 4 pool. That's just silly. It's clogging my hand up. I'm going to play it right now, and I'm going to bleed you, and you're going to take 2 plus
yeah,
whatever I can boost by. So
yeah,
it's a free extra bleed. That's pretty cool.
yeah. Love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
+1 bleed modifier. I don't think I've ever built an Asamite or Banner Hakeem deck without 2 in, because I think it's just put 2 in. If they come up at the right time, amazing. If you don't, still pretty good.
yeah, yeah, exactly. You don't even have to get the effect off for it to do what
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
like designed to do, which is great. Um, so since then, you've made some changes to the deck. Let's talk us through that then, starting with the crypt.
Okay. There's only the one change in the crypt, which I think we discussed already. It was kind of a leftover remnant. So I
Hmm.
think I kind of overlooked Layla initially.
Hmm.
Um, I hadn't quite, like I said, I hadn't much experience with the deck. And it was kind of a loose idea I took to refine. What I did discover is there was a big lack in celerity in the crypt.
Uh, Especially
Uh,
advanced celerity as well.
yeah. Like the advance isn't too much of a problem because like the main card is flash, which you can choose press or maneuver
Yeah,
regardless. It's nice to get both, obviously. But yeah, Kabedia, I couldn't. I think if I drew him, I wouldn't have really brought him out anyway. At 9,
yeah.
he's a 3-turn investment.
He's a big dude
I could get 3
when you're
vampires
trying
in
to
that.
like, yeah, when you're just trying to swarm the field as
Yeah, so
well.
she takes a turn less. That's it.
Also,
That's
by
what
the way, can I just make one more additional point? The fact that your deck is also Scourge of the Enochians proof, like apart from obviously the two guys we were speaking about
yeah,
before,
yeah,
like it's just yeah, yeah.
yeah. The being
So
proof is a big deal.
yeah, yeah,
Unfortunately, I came across Carver's meat packing, which I am not good at playing around.
yeah. So
That's
it's a
recap.
difficult card for you for sure.
Yeah,
So we've got some of these masters here. More Hackham's Law, can't go wrong with that. You
yeah,
now run 5 total. It's such a good card, and I've highlighted here the need for more celerity as well within the deck, which is great.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
-2 Blood Awakening. So when you played that against me, obviously any card that has intercept against a stealth deck is really good. So I was surprised to see you cut the 2 Blood Awakening.
Yeah, it was underwhelming. Like,
Yeah,
I thought the insert would be good, and only having a couple was great. But I found it quite often in my hand when I wanted to make a push.
yeah,
And this deck, I found being reactive was slowing me down
hmm,
because if I'm playing against the stealth bleed deck, I'm probably done anyway. Like,
hmm,
I'm going to hope they run out of stealth or clog on it. I've got to play one of those strategies
yeah, yeah.
uh, and just keep going forward. But
Yeah, and I think you need to get your weaponized recruits through
yeah,
as well. So
yeah,
obviously the Swallow by the Night really helps with that
yeah, of course.
as well. And also, it's also a combat card.
Yeah.
which is absolutely
Exactly. Which is
disgusting.
why it's a sell card of choice.
Yeah, yeah. +3 pull fangs, by the way. Love that. Going
Yeah.
absolutely super deep on that.
Well, this is due to the removal of the Potence Masters because I found celerity was more important. So
Yeah,
I wanted to support the celerity more and make the Potence less of a necessity.
yeah,
So I've cut disarms and grapples and replaced them with full fangs.
yeah, yeah. Seems perfect. And we've already discussed how amazing those that particular card is as well. I do
Yeah.
feel like more people need to get onto it, because it's just it's filth. It's absolute filth. So PJ, that's your deck profile done. That is your deck profile done. And obviously we need to give this deck a rating. And doing a normal 5-star rating or rating it out of 10 would be awful because we like to do things a little bit differently here on Lives from the Tabletop. So I want to get you to rate your deck out of 13 Bobby Lemons.
I'm rating it.
How?
I thought
Yeah,
you'd be rating it.
you're rating your deck, and if it matches my rating, I don't know, I'll buy you a beer.
Oh, I was ice cream. I'll chase the
Yeah,
ice cream man down the street. Milky bars are on you.
yeah.
Come on.
How many out of 13 Bobby Lemons do you give your deck?
Oh, I've not played my update yet. Are we factoring the update or are we looking at what I put
Yeah,
in
you can rate your
the
most current version of it for sure.
I think it's pretty strong. It
Hmm.
worked well. I'm really happy with the way the concept played out. It was much um, more efficient and more reliable than I expected.
Hmm.
However, I also had the right deck for the day.
Hmm.
I think. And there's a lot of rooms we played in that this would have just got demolished. With with you as my predator, without the brainwashers, I'd have not won that game. The brainwashers got me there. So I don't know. Out of how many out of 13 did you say? How many's in a bag of lemons?
I think this deck gets at least 10 Bobby Lemons for
10 Bobby
me.
lemons.
I think it's creative. I think it's unique. I've never seen it before, and I've been playing the game a good few years now. And there were some cards that really took me by surprise. I love how versatile it is. I love how reactive it is, and I love the fact that every card, once you have a Haken's Law out, every single card appears to be live. Every single card is dangerous. Every single card is useful. So
Mm.
for me, I think it definitely gets at least 10 out of 13 Bobby
I think
Lemons,
that's the first one.
potentially 11. And also, and at the end of the day, it got you the win. So
True.
yeah, we
I mean, it's
definitely
about as good
can't
as it gets
complain.
for me.
Yeah, that's as
Yeah,
good as it gets.
probably 13 because it won.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
13 because it won.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
fair.
I think 10 out of 13 seems like a reasonable
Yeah, it's
rating.
definitely fair.
'Cause
Right. Well,
it's definitely got its flaws. It needs the right room,
mhm,
but it's definitely a strong contender, and I would consider playing it again.
yeah, for sure. So, for the people in the comments, let us know, what do you think of the deck? What changes would you see to it? And what do you really like and what do you dislike about the deck as well? Do let us know what you think of it. And
Only
so,
personally disliked it.
PJ, this week I set you a little challenge.
Right.
Um, and so there are certain cards that I come across and I just think that's kind of funny. It's kind of a funny card. Like, and some cards you think, oh, they're just useless, but like, what if you built a deck around a particular theme? So for me, just to give the viewers at home a bit of context, I was recently on the receiving end of a brainwashing deck, and I've never thought about the idea of attacking someone's crypt before. I thought that was a really cool concept because you don't really get that in a deck. And so what I thought about was, well, what if there was a deck that attacks your hand instead, especially in a game like Vampire: The Eternal Struggle, where card replenishment is such a given. It's almost something that you take for granted, that you're going to be able to draw and play with loads and loads of cards all the time. What if there was some kind of deck that came along and attacked you right where it hurts? Not your pool, not your beads, not your vampires, not your crypt, but your hand. And so I gave you this card, PJ, which is Aggressive Tactics, which is a master card. It costs 2 blood. Put this card in play and choose a Methuselah. While this card is in play, the chosen Methuselah's hand size is reduced by 1. Any vampire can burn this card as a D action. And I thought, ah ha 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 ha, I've got PJ now. He reckons he's so smart.
Yeah,
But
you give me 5 minutes as well.
yeah, I did. I gave you 5. I gave you 5 minutes, and you actually came up with some pretty badass cards, and I would hate to play against this. So if you was at home,
blue, and then I'll log on to do this podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, by the way, as some
yeah, I've got to keep you on your toes, mate. I've got to keep you on your toes.
Before we move on, now, can we just address this card itself?
Yeah, do it.
Why is it 2 pool?
It's exactly, that's why I thought. You know what? It's a bit shit.
If it wasn't 2 pool, we'd have seen it, because if this was free to play, it's not unique. Someone's gonna find it funny and do it.
Yeah,
and it would be reasonable, maybe. But like, it can also be de-actioned. You invest 2 pool to make someone discard a card, and then they take a de-action, and then it doesn't matter anymore. Like that's it. It costs the same amount of pool as Pentex Subversion.
Yeah.
Costs the same
exactly.
as
I'd much rather have any hunting ground. Like,
just inefficient tactics.
Yeah, inefficient tactics. And I think, like, you know, anyone from Black Chantry, if you're listening along, change this card, make it free.
Yeah, man.
Make it free to play.
Even 1 wouldn't be too offensive, but 2. You're playing a real card for 2 pool.
Really. 2 pool, but in this economy,
you can get out for that. You get new blood.
Exactly. So, PJ, you came up with some good cards that like don't seem like they really go together. Like, I think you'd have to work on it a bit more, but there's a really loose concept for a deck that I haven't seen existing. And you've shown me some of these cards. So obviously we've got Aggressive Tactics, we've got High Priest Angra, we've got the Meddling of Semsmith, we've got Hand Intervention, and of course we've got the Retainer Raptor as well.
Raptor was the first thing I thought of because it's quite famous.
Yeah. I think if I saw someone play Aggressive Tactics, I'd be like, all right, well, that was a bit rubbish. But then if they brought out High Priest and then all of a sudden I'm down to 5 cards, I'd be like, oh. And then like if they called a referendum as well, like meddling or hand intervention,
it's gonna slow you a lot, right?
Yeah. Like you could legitimately make your prey sit there on 3 cards, and that's like quite realistic.
I like the idea of like doing multiple master phases with it and trying to get 7 out so that your prey's got no.
It's just such a shame that it's
to get cards for the turn.
Yeah, it's such a shame that it's 2 pool. Like,
you know, it costs 2 pools, reduce someone's hand size by 1, right? But to increase your hand size by 1 costs 1 pool, which is Elder Library. And there's also Monastery of Shadows, which is only 3 pool.
Yeah, a favourite card of mine as well. Yeah, I love that.
The cost is clearly way off on this one.
Yeah. So come on, Black Chantry, one more time. We appeal to you, oh gods, or overlords, or masters. Change this card, and maybe we'll see a new type of deck come into play. And so, also for the listeners at home, let us know about what you think about this as a concept. What would you do? What would you add to it? How do you feel like you maybe could potentially make this work?
Well, Meddling of Semsmith is actually quite a powerful card that does see a bit of play. But the problem is it was a very old promo, so very few people have it. So if you are listening to that chance, you get that on your list. And Narrow Minds. I'm not going to say it again. Narrow Minds.
Yeah, precisely. And so we're going to start wrapping up our podcast now. And before we move on, just to give you a little concept, a little bit of context, sorry. Me and PJ, we are both part of the Facebook group, Vites Flames of the Netherworld. If you're not part of that, please do go and join it. It's it's a group full of excellent memes. And PJ, this one's from you. When the one from the KRC goes on you, very well. War.
Well,
This is so true. This is so true.
yeah,
I have seen so much beef over one pool.
it gets brutal, doesn't it? Like I've seen
It's
people throw the game just out of spite to
yeah,
work for that one.
yeah. I've like sent the one pool like because I run KRC in my deck. I've sent the one pool at a cross table ally before for the sake of not getting blocked, so that I can alleviate pressure on my cross table ally. So I say like, look, you're going to be taking the one, but these guys are taking three, and that's going to put them under a bunch of pressure. They're not going to be able to go forwards a lot more as a result. And if I put the one on my predator, they're just going to block me. They've just said that. So
Yeah.
you're the only option, and it's actually, if you think about it, it's helping you. And they just go like it's like the Pingu meme. Well, now I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
and then like the cross table bleed me for
Yeah.
three, which actually happened as a result of me doing a KRC for 3-1.
I've
I got
seen
bled by my cross table ally. Yeah,
so,
it's
yeah.
all out war. That card just creates chaos. Just creates absolute chaos, man.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I think people love throwing out. Well, I've got two predators now. That's like a go-to line that people use.
yeah, no, I'm
Put
like,
the one on you with the KOC. Great, I've got two predators. Well,
yeah,
no.
you really don't.
Yeah,
But
if your
okay,
predators get an analog convert and nothing else, then yeah, that'd be
yeah.
two.
And our combat as a predator.
I'm
Yeah,
surprised you
fair enough.
didn't choose some grapple post then. So,
Oh well, we'll get onto that next week when
if you
I
want to
go
talk about
through my deck. I'm just going to give a deck profile of my deck, Stanislava.
right, yeah.
So we're going to be able to have a bit more context for some grapple posting. But the second meme that I want to highlight, I was crying. I was crying laughing at this. Shout out to Bill Troxel, by the way. Bill Troxel says, I used to have 2 copies of Bobby Lemon, but card sorting, I discovered that I've somehow lost them over the years. Life has taken away my lemons. How will I make lemonade now? This is so
Oh,
good. Absolutely brilliant. And by the way, Bill, if you are listening along, mate, I do hope you find them. I hope you
yeah.
find them.
The work was no man. Like I wanted to get some. I should have bought them before making all the memes, but
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I don't think it's do that. It's like weenie animalism is pretty much a defiant crip, but they're
yeah.
like 25 quid on eBay or something.
Wow.
I
It's
guess
just not worth it.
I wanted just to make meme decks with Bobby Levin because there's the Bobby Levin memes.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah,
There are so
you
many
do
Bobby
both things
Lemon
as well.
memes. Yeah,
Get used to lemons.
yeah. And then the next meme that I want to highlight, PJ, bit ashamed of you for this because this is just victim blaming, victim shaming, even. My Billy Troxel has no Bobby Lemons. A friend asked me how he makes lemonade. He makes lemonade off. Obviously, a bit of a play on the my
I'm
doggy's
surprised
got no
people do.
nose. How does he smell? Mate, this was
I mean, that's
brutal.
just for you because it's such an in joke for us. I'm surprised everyone else
Yeah.
hasn't seen it as much as is good.
Well,
Yeah.
everyone seems to like it on the group as
Yeah.
well.
He's
Everyone seems
definitely
to
gonna
get
make a
it.
Legionnaires deck with those Bobby Lemons though. Have you
Yeah.
seen his deck list? He just bums like 10 Legionnaires and stuff. I've made a few posts taking the piss out.
Yeah, yeah.
He's got good humour, Bill. He's a lovely fellow.
Yeah. Honestly, so funny. So funny. But and I do think though that that is the moment where we have come to the end of our podcast, mate.
Oh, that's worked out well because I'm just about to finish this beer and I'd have to go to the fridge for another
Yeah,
one.
I'm gonna have to go get another one as well. Cheers, mate. Thanks for the podcast.
Cheers. Oh,
And
stop it.
also,
The cameras.
yeah. Also, just want to thank everyone if you have made it this far for listening along with us. If this is something
Or
that
if
you
you
want to
skip to the
see,
end, if you skip to the end, thanks as well.
yeah, it's
It
true.
still counts as a
Yeah,
viewer,
Yeah, thank you so much for listening along with us and listening to our 55 minutes of what is like absolute nonsense. I do hope the deck profile was somewhat useful. I do hope some of the ideas and some of the cards that you've seen there might help with our learning of the game. If you do like this and you do want to see a bit more of it, don't forget to like the post, share it if you can with some of your other friends who play Vites as well. And if you do want to not miss any future installments, then do subscribe as well so that you don't miss an episode. Thanks everyone for watching. Thank you to Captain Thalco.
Questions as well. Bring them on. We'll
yeah, exactly. Thank you to Captain Thalco for being a wonderful co-host as well. And we're looking forward to the next one, and we will catch you next time, Methuselahs. Thank you very much.